Good evening, everyone. Welcome to AK Academy and dotNet Labs course. Today we are in the part 2 of developing the client side with the Blazor WebAssembly and Fluent UI. In the previous session, we have initialized the project, initialized the authentication system, and we have installed the Blazor Fluent UI library into our application. We have just set up the basics of it. So right now we are in the session number 2. And within this one, we are going basically to implement the login and the register page, in addition to setting up the general layout of the project using the layout provided by Blazor Fluent UI. So I hope you enjoyed the previous one and you have tried what we have done or you have cloned the project. So, and if there is any questions about that before we get started with the new one, you can basically post them right now. So until everyone just gets notified with the session. So I think we are ready to go ahead and get started with what we have to do. So first, as a quick reminder, it is the general layout of the project and the register and the login page. So I will get started here by first sharing my screen. So okay, so that's great. This is the Blazor Fluent UI. We have take a quick look about this in the previous session. And this is the URL, or this is the Swagger documentation of our API. So in this session, we are going to make calls for the login and to the register page, or to the register endpoint, sorry. We have those two objects that we have to do. But before we get started with this, what we have to implement is basically we have to leverage this layout that you can see right now, this nav menu, this is like the header, and this one into our own application instead of the default one provided by Blazor. So first, we can go ahead and get started. What I have done basically is I have cloned the project of Blazor Fluent UI into my device here. So you can see there is a folder called demo, and within this demo, you have access to the client side if you are working with Blazor WebAssembly, server side. And here in this project called Blazor Fluent UI.demo.shared, you can see all the components and the layout provided in the demo project that they have basically here. So I'm going to use this to copy the general layout. So in this case, we can save some time and put that in our project. So if we run the project before we go ahead, okay, cool. So this is why you are going. Oh, sorry, what is this? I think I'm in the wrong branch. Okay, so okay, sorry for that. Discard. Okay, great. Now we can run the project from the initial state. Okay, great. Yeah, this is the layout that we would like to see. This is from where we get started. So in the previous session, we have implemented until this moment. So right now, we are going to go ahead and complete this to make it look as I have showed to you before when I ran it before. So first, to get started, I'm going, as I've said, I will go to their project. And the first thing I will do is basically I will go to the client side, and then I will check the www root project. As you can see, there is the CSS. So I can copy this folder. Let's go to .NET Labs, open this, and I will save it here. Let's replace the existing file if there is any. Okay, so this is great. Right now we have this site.css and fabric-icons.inline.css comes from their implementation. And the other thing is to open up index.html again. So here we need to add reference for those. So I can do this as well to make this process a little bit quicker. So as you can see, they removed Bootstrap because they are using the grid system that's basically available in the Fluent UI. So we are going to copy this, and let's paste that in our project. Okay, that's great. And they are suspending this one or commenting it, the one that shows if there is any error. So this is great. We are going to make our own later on. Okay, so that's fine. This is everything that you need to implement for the index.html. And right now, what we can do is to go to the two main components, which is basically the main layout and the nav menu. So those are the default one that comes from Blazor. So what I want to do is to remove the default style comes the default template. Hey, hi dear, glad to see you joined. Thanks for that. So, and right now here we have, let's go first to the main layout, and I will go to their project, and let's go. Now this is the client side. Here in the shared project, you can see there is a folder called shared, and within it you can find the main layout and the nav menu provided the Fluent UI. So this is the code that basically responsible for this page, as you can see, for the general layout here and this stuff. So I can copy this. So let's do that. Okay, this is great. Now, all the stuff that's related for switching the theme and the things, I'm going to suspend it just for now. We are going to talk a little bit about theming in Fluent UI another session. So, okay, I think. Okay. So this one is being used somewhere, so let's just keep it here. And so great. So this is basically the general layout. Let's take a quick look at it. So what does it have? Here we have first an element called the Blazor Fluent UI stack. What stack is basically it's a set of layout or a set of it's a set of layout to put content inside that basically goes like a stack, either horizontal or vertical. So you put bottom, 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 or they are going to be on top of each other. So this is the stack, and then within this stack they put the nav menu on the left side and the body of the page, and there is the top nav bar. So this is the stuff that's related for the nav menu. And here in the middle, as you can see, there is one of the stack items. As you can see here, this is the rest of the page. So if you open this, what you are going to see, there is a button, this one that's responsible when you are on the phone or small screens or on the phone screen. Like you're going to see a hamburger button to open and close the nav. So it's existing basically here. And this is the stuff that you can see. It's this one here. So let's make a quick change for this. I'm just going to suspend this link now. And this is the button for theme switch. As you can see, it is this one. So I have to basically replace this one. I'm going to just comment this. And we are going to put a button. So it's going to say welcome user and a logout button, or a login button in case the user is not logged in. So let's go ahead and do that directly. So I will add authorized view. And here I will add not authorized. And authorized. So basically, let's add here a PFU button, text, login. This is in case the user is not logged in. You'll get back to the other implementation. And here, what we have to add is basically a drop-down button, just like this one. Yeah, so, or basically it's called split button. So let's show the code here. That's great. I'm going to take this one. It has the following C# code. Okay, so let's go ahead and paste it over here. I think we only need one button. I don't need it to be disabled. And I will get rid of onClick. I'm going to implement that after we implement the login. And for the icon name, emoji, and I will remove this check just for now. Okay, this is great. Now we can take a look at the rest of the C# code. Okay, so first here we need in the uninitialized async, but we need first to copy this. Because what basically this button is all about, it's a button with an icon, and in addition to this, it has a context menu. So we need to initialize the context menu here. I'm going to create a new region for that. User area, let's say. This. After I will implement this, I will go ahead and talk about this in more details. But for now, let's copy them one by one. So on initialized async. Okay, that's it, protected. Async override task on initialized. This is one of the lifecycle events for the Blazor component that's basically being called or fired once the page loaded successfully. So I will add this here. As you can see, just initializing this menu properties. And what I want to do here, email message, basically I need to have only one. The text is going to be just logout. And for the key, I'll call it logout. That. Here we have icon name email. Okay, I'm going to bring an icon from the Blazor Fluent UI, but first let's make this button works. Okay. So what we have as well is we need the onClick handler. So let's copy this. When you click on the main button or any of the menus, And in addition for that, if you go here, so sorry, I'm showing the wrong code. Oh, sorry for that, guys. I'm opening up the icon button, so this is why I'm worrying. Oh, what is this? But okay, it's the same. Now I need this to take this primary button, so I will copy it. Because even me, I'm still new for this framework, so I'm discovering it. Okay, so do that. So this is great. Now this is the menu items. On a click handler, we have this on a click handler. And for the disabled and checked, I don't need for any disabled or check. This is great. And here we will type the name of the logged in user. We will say context dot user dot find first. We find the first claim, and the first claim, let's use the claim types system dot security dot claims dot claim types dot given name, which is the first name. So it's going to be welcome and the first name of the user. Okay, let's put it in a variable here. String username or greeting equals welcome and the value of this claim. So this one is contain the value of greeting, the split true, and the menu items is menu properties, and on a click is the on a click handler, and the primary split. This is the name of this one. So I'm going to log out now. Okay, this is great. Now we can go back. I'll create a region here called theming. Put all the code related for the themes within it. So then I can close that. Okay, that's great. That's just great. Now let's go back to this one. And let's check the rest of the code that basically they have. So this is the menu properties. They are initializing that. We already has done that. And now we have the on-a-click handler. So I will take this. Okay, sorry, we have already implemented that. So let me add console.writeLine and put the value of the bottom. This is great. And I think, yeah, this is enough. Okay, this is cool. Now we are going to get back to this when we implement the login page. So, and here the body of the page will go. And the last thing that we have is basically when the screen is small. So we have to see, this is the link to go to the Blazor Fluent UI on the GitHub. So I'm just going to disable that. And then show the nav menu again. And it's saying on link click, this is basically will be added to the nav menu right now when you implement the nav menu, which says like whenever you open any page and you are on the small screen, so basically go to that page and at the same time just close the nav menu to not being displayed. So right now I think we are done from this one. Let's go to nav menu. Okay, this one is pretty easy. So let's do exactly the same. I will copy this. Okay, so this is great. What it has here is, as you can see, this event callback on link clicked whenever any of those links being clicked. And yeah, this is related for the collapsing and showing on the small screens. And here you can see all the elements they have in their documentation or in their demos. So we need to get rid of all of this. I will keep up only one group, which is this one. And I will call this one like dotNet Labs, for example. Okay, and for those, I will get rid of all of this. I will keep page, videos, playlists. I will add management here. This one will be shown only in case the user is admin. Okay. Now we will get back to all of this stuff, but let's first implement the general layout. So now this is what the top link contains. So I'm going to remove this one that shows Blazor Fluent UI. I will just need this version 1. I'll show dotNet Labs. Okay. So like that, this is great. And this is the main layout. So now I think we can give it a try and to see the final result that we will have. Okay, I think there is an error here. And if we go to the console, to scroll to the top, and if your nav link doesn't have a property matching the name icon name. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah, that's right. If we go to the nav menu, this one, as you can see, there is a problem with the icon name, and that's basically because the package that they have right now on their documentation is still under development. It's or still in the preview. The one that's available on NuGet still doesn't have this property. So this is why we got this error that the icon name does not exist. So basically, if you go for this one, like as you can see icons here, but this library is still, I think, in the preview and still not supposed on or available on NuGet packages. Okay. So when we remove just the icon name, I think everything is just going to be great. Okay, so let's look at that. This is exactly what we want. Look at this. We have the nav menu here that shows the videos, playlists, and management. This is the link to the main page. This is the content of the home page. And we have this button here. But yeah, it shows this, the full name of the claim. We need just the value, which is this one. And if we click here, we should say that logout. So let's go ahead and fix that directly. So in the main layout, okay, this is the string greeting. dot find first dot value, because if you remember from the previous session, we have simulated the login process, but basically by putting a valid access token in the browser or in the website local storage, let's say in the browser. So this is why it's logged in right now. Okay, this is much better. As you can see, we have this one, and right now we have this logout option. So everything just great. Now we can go ahead, and this is somehow a good layout, but there is a little problem with Blazor Fluent UI. As I've just opened a ticket with them, or an issue on GitHub, that it has all of the great stuff that we need to build the full app, but they have only this demo, and there is nothing documented to explain how this layout is working or other stuff. So the best thing is just to go ahead and try, and this is basically what I'm doing right now with you. But I see a very great future for this library because everyone basically loves the nice design of Microsoft Fluent. This is a great job to put this library here. So right now, at least we have a good looking somehow. Right now, when you implement the login and the register page, and on the home page, we'll create somehow, or in some places, our own components. So it's going to look amazing. But for the general layout right now, this is just perfect. So what we can do is to move to the next step, which is implementing the login and the register page. So to do this, now we will forget about Fluent UI just a little bit. Let's go to dependencies, add a project reference, and add reference to the shared project. Okay, it's already here. So we have access for all the login request, login response, and register request and register response at the same time. So this is great. Now in pages, let's open add new folder, and I will add a folder, call it auth for authentication. And within it, I'm going to create a user component, and this component, I will call it login, like that. Okay, great. So it's still a pretty clean component. Now first, let's define the page or the router of this component, like /authentication /login, or maybe we can make it auth to make it simple, like that. This is just great. Now, as you can see, we have to inject some stuff here, and basically use inject HTTP client. So we have an instance of HTTP client initialized from a client factory that we have saved in the previous session, or we have initialized here in the program.cs. This one here. So this one is going to be available for us. And yeah, so here, let's get started by typing welcome to dotNet Labs. So here, please log in with your account. Okay, so this is great. Now let's bring two text boxes from here. So go to basic controls, and I'll go to text field. Okay, this one. So we need basically to show it just like that. Those here, username and password, and then just a login button after that. So to do this, I'm going to show code. Okay. Like that. This one is pretty simple. With the label. Okay, great. But I think I need as well the container of that. So I will go to pages, and I will go for text field page. in the repository. So yeah, they are putting it directly in the UI. So okay, we can do that. Like this. Do it like this. So this one is the email. This one is the password. Let's add here VFU button, text login. Now this page is basically without any logic. So yeah, let's go ahead and check the design, how it looks like. Okay, we have a question. Have you ever coded in WPF? Yeah, of course. I have coded in WPF and UWP as well, Xamarin, so XAML in general. Yeah, of course. Both. Login. Okay, somehow it looks good. We'll get back to the styling. Let's right now concentrate on the functionality of this button. So, because to make it look very pretty, I need to go deeper with Blazor Fluent UI, because as I've said, I'm discovering it with you guys right now. So, but anyway, it looks somehow very clear, and it helps us for our job for the session. So right now, what we need as well is basically we need a spanner, a loading progress. So we can use it when the user clicks on that. So we have progress, spanner. Okay, we need any of those, but we need access for the code. Okay, let's check this one here. Solution, and I'll go to spanner page. Okay, this is great. Now I will copy this spanner object, put it at the bottom. Okay, great. So we need to make this one password. Okay. Go back to text field page. Okay. So to make it password, basically we should use an input type password. Okay. So input type password. Great. So now let's go ahead and start implementing some stuff. So first, I need to define a private pool is busy equals false. This one is an indicator. And what we need as well, an object of type login request, private login request. Need to add using. Can add it in the imports. I think it's better. So for this one, okay. Labs. Dot shared. Okay, this is great. And private login request model equals new. Like to initialize it here. And we forget something very important. We should put this one in an edit form. Model equals the model that we have. And sorry for that. Put all this stuff here. We need to have bind value equals at model. model.email. This one, model password. So basically, in this case, what does this mean is it's just a binding process. So we have the form, and for this form, the object that this form will wrap and push it to the server is going to be of type login request. And then for the first text field, or the first text input, we set the bind value, which means whenever it's a two-way data binding. So when we change the value in the model here, it's going to be reflected in the input, and vice versa. When we write it in the input, it's going to affect the email property in this model here. And we did the same for the password. And all what we have to do right now is basically to start submitting this. Then we can go back to implement the validation and show a message. So to do this, in that text login, what we have to implement is basically here, I will say disabled. So disabled should be equals to is busy. And for the spanner, has a property called is. Okay, so let's see what is the property for the spanner that make it work. Need to go for this one. Spanner page. Okay, so there is no is running, but what they have is we can say if is busy, then show the spanner. If not, then just basically do nothing. Okay, this is great. Now, I will implement a function here, private async task, submit, login, user async, at. Okay, this is great. Now, I will put this in a try, catch, at, section ex. Okay, great. Now what we have to do is just basically make, if we go to the Swagger UI here, so this is the endpoint. We have to make a request to /API /authentication /login, and we should just submit this object, and this is the response that we will get. Okay, so to do this, what I'm gonna do is just, I would say, var result or response equal the weight HTTP client dot post as JSON async. So this means take a JSON object and post it to the server, which is of type login request. Now, what is the endpoint? It's API /authentication /login. And what is the object? It's basically the model, this one. So look at that. This one is very simple. And what we can do right now is we have to check if response is success status code. So this means we have got the status code to 100. And other than that, we have to show an error message somewhere. Okay. So whenever this is a success status code, what we should do is first we need to convert the result into the corresponding object. So as you can see, the object that we receive is basically, if we go to the schema, it's of type login response. So we need to convert the content of this into a login response. So I'll type await response dot content dot read from JSON async access to this function. And here we define what is the type of the object that's basically represented in the content of this response. It's of type login response. That. So this is great. And basically, this one is happening whether the status code is 200 or 400. This is the two cases that we have, as you can see, 200 or 400. And in both cases, we receive the same object. So what can I do? Sorry for that. I can put this here to not repeat the same code twice. Now, in this case, I have received the access token successfully. So the first step I should do is to basically store this access token in the local storage. So to do this, I should inject another library, Blazor dot local storage dot I local storage service. I will call it storage service like that. So let's store it here. Now let's say await storage service dot set item async. The item is of type string. The access token is basically a string. Now the key is going to be access token, and the value is the result dot access token. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. Now we have set the access token. The other thing that I have to do is to go to the local authentication state provider, this one that we have created in the previous session, and to call this one. What this one is going to do is to check again if this user is logged in or not, and to notify other components about that change. So, and to do this, what I have to do is to go for this one and inject again authentication state provider auth state provider wait auth state provider dot get authentication state async, just like that. So this one will update the authentication state across our application. And the last thing that should be done is redirect the user to the home page. And else, we need to show basically just an error message, that the message that comes from the server. And to do this, we should leverage one of the cool components that we have here, like notification and engagement, message bar. We need to show like this one. And to show it here, we should go to the repository in this one or this project. And we have message bar dot razor dot page. Okay, great. And okay, like this one. Okay, I'm going to copy it. Then I will show this only here. The content is going to be different. And this content will be available only in case there is a message. So let's create that message. I will add a private string message equals string.empty by default. So if string dot is, in case the message is not null or white space, then there is something wrong. So show it, because when everything is working fine, there is no need to show any message. We will redirect the user back to the home page, and we will print the message within this. So on dismiss, let's forget about this for now. We want to keep it. Okay, great. And what I need to do is to say message equals to the result dot message received. And in case there is something wrong, so console.writeLine ex.message. And I will show it also in that message in the UI. Sorry, ex.message for now. Okay, this is great, and I think it's pretty simple as well. So for now, just as a test, what I'm gonna do is so for this console.writeLine, what I'm gonna do is say logged in successfully, just like that. So, okay. And now the form is ready, and the login async function is ready as well. What we need to do is to call on valid submit for this edit form. It's going to be, we have to call that login user async like that. But here we have an error that shows okay, just like this. So there is no need for that add, yeah. So on valid submit, then call the login user async, and this is the button that will submit the form. We can basically go ahead and try this, but we forgot something very important, is to add is busy here, make it true, and to add the is busy here, set it to false, like that. So let's go ahead and create the project. So we have a question. Have you turned into web development in Blazor easily? I'm a WPF developer. Yeah, basically going from WPF to Blazor, if you are a good WPF developer, so this means developing apps with Blazor WebAssembly is going to be very, very easy for you, because the concept of components and taking control of the UI, I think in Blazor, this is pretty simple and easier than WPF, because I have tried both and working both basically. I think, yeah, Blazor is much easier than that. So making that turn is not going to be the hard or that problem. So, and I highly encourage you to do this, because like Blazor, even in the future, maybe after .NET 6 or whatever, it's going to be even used for the desktop. So it's a very good decision if you think about start developing apps with the Blazor. So are there any software architecture pattern in Blazor like MVVM and WPF? Yeah, exactly, there is. And there is one of the architectures basically MVVM, so you can take advantage of this. And you can find some articles and videos on YouTube about how to implement MVVM in Blazor WebAssembly. So yeah, you can go ahead with that. So not too many new things for you. It's going to be there, just practicing. And another question, does it make sense to use services.add response compression in .NET Core apps and .NET Core or Blazor apps? Add response compression. Basically, I haven't used this before, so I couldn't answer this question, unfortunately, now, because I don't have any information about this. I need to read about that and then get back to you. We have another question, which is, hello, where are you from? Where are you from? Basically, I'm from Syria, Syrian Arab Republic in the Middle East. Okay, so great. Right now, we can go back to the authentication /login. Well, I think I have made it oath, right? Okay, great. So this is our page. Now let's try to type something like test@test.com and test.123, and I will click login. So yeah, there is this one, the breakpoint that I've set for the send async. If you remember the authorization message handler that we have talked about in the previous session, right now it has been hit. So it tried to set the access token, but there is no need, because login is an open process. And here we go. Look at that. We have invalid username and password. This is a pretty message. Like, it looks very great. Now let's try to log in with the right credentials. So I don't remember the credentials. This is why I'll open up Postman. So we can take a look at the post request. So if you go to the body of this request that we have done before, okay, this is the right credentials, test@dotnet.com. So let's go ahead and put that here and test.123. Let's click on login. So here we go. Now, if we check the click on F12, go to console. So here we got the message that logged in successfully. So everything is just working very fine. And right now we have a token here. So the opposite of this process is to implement the logout. And what the logout is going to do is just to remove the access token. And then after remove the access token, we should just call the authentication state provider.get authentication state again. But unfortunately, before I think we lost some time in the implementing the UI or the layout of this. We still have to design that and implement the register, but the time passed very quickly talking about this. So if you have any question about what we have implemented until the moment, please, you can ask them right now. So this video will be, yeah, of course, this video will be stored on stored on YouTube, so you can check out my channel. I think it needs about 2 or 3 hours after the live session ended to YouTube make this video available for public, and you can find it in the playlists page. There is a playlist called .NET Labs. So if you open up the playlist, I think you can find this video out there after 2 hours, and all the things that we have mentioned will be existing in the description and divided into chapters. So I hope you can follow this. And I highly recommend you, if you would like to learn about APIs, to go to the previous videos or follow from the playlist from the beginning, because within this playlist, we have started from the very scratch. We have implemented the API here and all those projects from the beginning. So if you would like or interested in the server-side part, you can do this. And the other thing is, from Samir, is it possible to hire you for some support in developing a Blazor app? Oh, I think, yeah, this is a great idea. We can discuss this by the email or something like that. I think you can find my email on the website, so we can discuss about that. So, and if there is any other question about what is happening right now or what we have implemented at the moment, please post that. And meanwhile, until the next session, I'm going to be basically somehow full-time on a Blazor Fluent UI. So or maybe if they don't have documentation right now, I am going to build this documentation, and you can also do if you are discovering it like this, because I have a really big faith in this project. I think it's going to be one day used in a lot of projects. We will see many Blazor apps will go ahead and use this one, but it just needs additional documentation for the ease of use, especially the layouts, defining the layouts, talking more about stack, how we can set the layout of this page, and we need a top bar here, like the one they have in all Microsoft account or in all Microsoft apps. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So in this case, we can style the login page and make it much better. So yeah, this is I think everything for this session. We didn't get the time to implement the register page, and I don't want to make the session long, like take additional 15 or 20 minutes. But it's very easy to implement. It's going to take just 10 minutes from the upcoming video. So we have another question: server or WebAssembly, which do you prefer? Yeah, basically, the comparison is like a little bit clear in some situations, not clear in other situations. If you want to develop an application that's going to be available on web, basically it doesn't make any sense to use Blazor Server. This is from my own perspective, because like it makes your server needs to be very powerful, because every single change that happens in the UI, the server is responsible for that. This is number one. There is always lagging. You need a very, very high speed internet connection. Or if you are storing the application or hosting the application internally in your company, so okay, in this case, you won't suffer from lagging that much. But usually, if you check any Blazor server app and you put it online, it's not fast at all. This is a very big issue. And when it comes to development, I think Blazor WebAssembly is much better. You can take advantage of make your application available when working 100% on the client side. You can take advantage of the concept of progressive web apps. So you can make your app works as a desktop app and in 100% offline mode. So all these advantages you will lose in a Blazor server, but I highly recommend the Blazor server in one case, and I have did that myself. If you are talking about or you want to develop a desktop app using Elkitron.net with Blazor, so in this case, you have to go with the Blazor server because it's an ASP.NET Core app, so you have access for the file system, you have access for all that stuff, and there is no need to have API and the client-side project. And in that case, the server project is basically existing on the same machine. The client and the server is on the same machine on the user side. So there will be no lagging. There will be no issues at all. This is the only case I prefer to use Blazor server. And what about debugging? I think right now you can debug this app, not with all the capability that you have when you debug the Blazor server, but you can set up breakpoints. You can check all the stuff here. And with a little bit like debugging tricks, I think you will be able to debug the issues, because right now I'm working on multiple Blazor projects and I'm not suffering from any issues. And from the beginning, I'm using Blazor WebAssembly. I've just used Blazor server and implementing Elkitron apps. So yeah, I think Blazor WebAssembly is the best approach to talk about that. And the most important part of debugging is to use breakpoints. And right now, you can set up breakpoints. You can move in your code from step by step. You cannot go so deeply in setting the breakpoints, the same flexibility that you have, but still, it's a very great option. So another question is, I have started from this one titled Welcome to Blazor WebAssembly Full App Course, Creating Outlook Calendar Client from Scratch. Is it okay for a start or one? Yeah, basically the course Outlook Calendar, I think it's a very great option because there is no API. So if you want to concentrate only on the client side part, it's a very, I highly recommend that for you. And you can follow even with this one. So this one is also the same, because the server, you can forget about that. You have implemented that already, and right now it's available online. So you can just think about this one. So you can go with that one, and you can go as well with this one. Both are options available. Another question, is it easy to switch from Blazor server to WebAssembly, or structure the app so it's easy to switch from one to other model? Yeah, of course, you can. It's not a big deal. There is just teeny stuff you can do, and you are ready to go. There is not that big changes. Like the first big change in the architecture of the project itself. Like here, there is no startup.cs, there is no this stuff, but you can see that you initialize all those services and register them here. And in Blazor WebAssembly, no, you have a startup.cs, because the application itself is working as a client side, and at the same time, it's a server, just like a normal ASP.NET Core app. So this is the same simple difference. There is other teeny differences. I don't remember them very well, but when it comes to the component, to the navigation, to the architecture of the Blazor app itself, like taking advantage of parameters, cascading parameters, it's going to be the same. Another thing that's going to be a difference, yeah, which is the authentication. Right now, because in Blazor server or Blazor server, yeah, you can implement a cookies-based authentication, while here you can go with this one, as we have done in the previous session. But if you are using an authentication like Facebook or like any OAuth providers, or maybe Azure Active Directory, all of this stuff will be handled for you behind the scenes. So, and in their documentation, they are mentioning about this, that do this change or do this change if you are working client side or server side. But in general, I think it's 97% the same. So if you have all your components, all your pages, it is moving from one to other. It's just it's going to be an easy process. Or very, as you can see here, this is a very great example for this question. So in the project that Blazor Fluent UI is doing, they are having the components works for both sides. So if you go for their GitHub page, let's go back to Blazor Fluent UI. So if you look at that, there is a sample with client side and there is a sample with Blazor server. And if you go to the code, you can find it here. This is the server side and this is the client side. But all the components and the pages that you see is existing in shared, and basically they have been referenced in the client side and the server side. So more than 97% of the project is shared. Just a few things is different. Like you see here, if you want to initialize the project, you need to go ahead and you have startup.cs, you have middlewares and all this stuff, while on the client side, you don't have this. And the www root, right now, this one is going, as you can see, it's there is no index.html, while in the Blazor client side, there is here. So yeah, in a nutshell, the differences are teeny differences, and you will, if you want to migrate, you will migrate more than 97%, more than. So if there is any other questions related to the project or this discussion, please feel free to put them before we end the session. Asking about MVVM pattern in Blazor. Basically, I have just seen articles about that, but I haven't implemented it in any of my projects. So yeah, I didn't implement that or just seen. So I don't know how it's going to be or how much useful it is, because I didn't practice that or implemented this in my projects. So unfortunately, I couldn't answer this question, or if it's going to be better or not better than the normal approach. But I think it's going to be better because it's a pattern, better than just go create your components anyway and start dealing with them. So having a view model for each UI or each component is going to be a very great idea. Okay. Okay, so here we come to the end of this session. Thank you so much, guys, for watching and for that nice discussions. I hope you enjoyed it and get the benefits out of what we have implemented. So meanwhile, we are going to go deeply with the Blazor Fluent UI, and we will complete the rest of the project. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the upcoming Wednesday in the next week. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for joining again, and see you. Bye-bye.